Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Sometimes we need a little push in order to have the courage to, cross a threshold or, jump over a cliff to, do our little hobbies. In this case, we have Germany who would like to, get away from Russian gas, and it seems like they want to do it, but they would like to control when that happens. The problem is, it seems like the Russians are just helping them to make that decision by cutting off almost the remaining gas that Europe receives through Ukraine. So let's see what this article is informing us. So this article comes from investing.com. Gazprom threatens Ukraine with non-payment for gas transit in fresh escalation. Russian gas monopoly Gazprom took an important step towards cutting off almost all of its remaining supplies to the EU, as the Kremlin pulled its last remaining levers to pressure Western and Central Europe into dropping its support for Ukraine. That's a little push. In a post on its official Telegram channel, Gazprom said it may seek to add the Ukrainian gas pipeline operator Naftogaz Ukraini to Russia's list of sanctioned entities, ratcheting up a dispute over the Ukrainian company's alleged failure to ship Russian gas westward according to its sales company. So the Ukrainians want to speed up something? This would prevent it from paying Ukraine its usual transit fees, a move that would pave the way for a suspension of physical shipments. Gazprom claimed that it had no other option because the jurisdictions where the two parties had agreed to submit the disputes for arbitration, Sweden and Switzerland, have turned hostile to Russia, denying it the chance of a fair hearing. The timing of Gazprom's intervention is eye-catching, coming on the same day that several European Union members accused Russia of sabotaging the two Nord Stream pipelines that run under the Baltic Sea to Germany, which was Europe's biggest buyer of Russian gas until the Kremlin's invasion of Ukraine in February. Well, this is what's going to happen here. So, it says, today Russia brought its energy weaponization against Europe to the next level, from economic to hybrid war, said Simon Taglipetra, an analyst with a Bruegel think tank in Brussels, via Twitter. Well, what do you want? War is war, baby doll. And he says that the Europeans need to adjust our response and preparedness accordingly. Good job. The risk of more extreme Russian action against Europe's gas supplies appears already to have spread to Norway's offshore oil and gas industry, now the biggest single source of gas for Europe as the winter heating season starts. So that means that Norway can blackmail Europe. So now from Russia, who could blackmail Europe now is Norway. The only difference is Russia bad, Norway perfect. Okay? Alright. So Norway's Petroleum Safety also warned on Monday of an increase of unidentified drone flights close to offshore installations and urged increased vigilance by all operators and vessel owners, stressing the need to report any further sightings. Well, if you're going to shoot one down and you find out it's American, what are you going to do about it? So this is the situation. It's a little, how should I call it, misunderstanding, quarrel between Ukrainian companies and the Russian company. And que bono? Well, the Russians obviously could, because they will blackmail the other guys, right? You're not going to have it. Will benefit, obviously, in a way that the Ukrainians will benefit, because they will think that the Europeans will say, see, we told you Russia is bad, as if it was needed more evidence to support that allegation or statement. So who's not benefiting? Germany, that's for sure, and Russia, because it's not getting any revenue. So do I think that, not that you asked me, but I'm going to say it anyway. Do I think that Russians are doing this for political reasons? I hope that's the reason. I hope they do that. I hope they decide to really, how should I put it, be really not only respond, but also be on the offensive, because from some of the Russians' leadership's behavior, seems to me that those guys are not really believing the extent to which the adversaries are trying to destroy them. I mean, we can say, well, they're enemies. Not like that. Not like that. And I think they're just, for instance, I will give you an example. The news, or these guys, the analysts, or, people who have shows on the TV. They, let's say, I watch from time to time Tucker Carlson. And I think if he goes away, I don't know who's going to be there to say a different story. Hannity or whatever, he is not too bright, I got to tell you that. He is very, how should I put it, he's very imbalanced in his, so he's very subjective, let's put it this way. That's why when he's subjective, you lose credibility in your, you know what I mean? And for me, he doesn't have to be subjective, he doesn't have to be objective, but his subjectivity is so exaggerated that I think it's very shallow. That's my assessment of that. Now you have Laura Ingraham, who again, she is good and she's over there. If these three guys leave, who's going to be there? You have the rest over there, so who's going to be the rest to put a counter or to show a different side of the story? So let's say Tucker. I used to watch him for some time, and his tone and his the way of approaching certain issues in this country, it increased in its in his I don't want to say aggressivity, but in its I could call it aggressivity. Before it was milder. Right now it's more aggressive. But the thing is, it seems like he's just trying to reach he's not getting there. The other side is straight. The other side is straight. Uses whatever words and is very clear in its intention to destroy these guys. And these guys, instead of using the same weapons and saying, wait a second, this is a war, and not just, hey, I'm just eating right now, I don't care, we just talk. No, that guy really wants to get rid of you. I'm not talking about physical, obviously, but not to have you anymore. Out. People should not listen to these guys. These guys are not defending themselves. They're like jokingly, they don't employ all their weapons. They don't call things as they call, because if you do that, people say, well, you're extremist. Well, you're extremist calling the things as they are? There are certain people that are not on mainstream, obviously, that are called that way, but they call things as they are. Because those guys, I don't want to say awaken, but say, these guys are not here to play games, and they're not civilized in their attacks. So why should I just, pretend and keep that? So that's a thing that I observed in being more and more aggressive. So that's why I think that the Russians are not really, let's plan accordingly with these guys. And they should have done it from the very beginning when the Westerns said, we're going to help Ukraine with some weapons. They should have drawn the line in the sand right there, right in that moment. I don't want to see any advisor in Ukraine. I don't want to see any weapons in Ukraine, because if you do that, then it means you're part of the war, and I'm going to start a nuclear war. How about that? They would have been crazy, obviously. But I'm just saying they should have just say, this is the line in the sand. No, they are just, still, okay. And those guys are saying right now, well, we're going to give Ukraine anything they want. Anything. Probably short of, certainly short of nuclear weapons. The guys are to that point where they say, we're going to use nuclear weapons or something. well, you know what? Forget about it. You're already like in a corner and all that. Yeah, that should have been avoided from the very beginning. You know, draw the line in the sand and see what happens then. Then you have the plans, obviously, you plan accordingly, but not like this. So I don't think the Russians are really taken. Little by little, they got to this point where they say, well, it's a Russian territory. If you're over there, you're blah, blah. Okay, what about before? What do you mean you're not involved? You supply my enemy with weapons to kill me. What is that called? Neutrality? No, it's not. So they were not serious from the very beginning. It's between me and these guys. You are either with them, with me, or you are neutral. Neutral, that means you stay out of it. You place sanctions on me, you're already in it. You are already in it because you affect me in the benefit of my enemy. So what are you talking about? You are part of it from the very beginning. Before the beginning, the hostilities there were. So that's why it's naivety. They're not with, dealing with Russia just to, you know, to stop you from attacking Ukraine. No, they will not stop short from putting Russia back where it belongs in their minds. And that is Russia from 1991 to 1999. That's what they want, or even worse. Do they get that? If you would act differently. You would be more straight. I tried to conventional and this, and we're gonna attack and we're gonna referendum. And really, do you think they would care about a referendum in your country? You gotta be kidding me. You're like naive, like what's his name, like Milosevic showing up at the International Court of Justice. Really? Are you kidding me? The Americans don't give their soldiers to be investigated and court-martialed or whatever in court by anybody else. Why is that? Say something. Shut up. That's what it is. But the other guys, yeah, we give them, the African countries, send their people over there, their people, to be judged by whatever judge in Brussels or Hague or whatever. Really? No, when everybody else is going to abide by the Hague International Criminal Court, then we do the same way. But you have it? No. So then you see, it's not about the law, it's about the muscle. So same here. What do you think is going to happen with the Russians if they lose? Lose meaning, you know, all the leadership is tied up or hanged upside down like Mussolini in Milano in a square. How do you think it's going to end up with the rest? Do you think they're gonna be a Nuremberg style trial? A very fair one. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.